America debt has reached a breaking point. At the time of this video, America has just surpassed $39 trillion. That just triggered a 50-year-old plan known in the financial world as the Great Reset. World bankers are not going to fix the debt, but they're going to replace the system. A major agreement just happened with the Security and Exchange Commission and with the Commodity Future Trading Commission. They agreed to change how America pays its over $39 trillion debt. It's to replace the American dollar with a digital money system tied to asset. The Great Reset isn't just for America, it's the whole world. Never in world history, all at the same time, the whole world is in financial trouble. The Great Reset to remove the worldwide physical money in exchange for CBDC digital money system, which is central bank digital currency, it has begun for America. This is leading to an Antichrist digital money system that will force people to be marked. And without that mark, you will not be able to buy or sell. Now, here's today's video. Tonight I'm going to finish up Revelation 13 with Revelation 13:16 through 18. And what I'll be talking about is the mark of the beast and what's possibly may be the fourth beast of Revelation 13. And I'll point that out when I get there. So, just as a review, end time prophecy is the coming tribulation is for those who I call the tribulation servants and saints of Jesus Christ. Because for those who believe that the rapture is going to happen prior to the tribulation, they're still going to be servants and saints during the time of tribulation. So this, I guess, most of all, during the time of tribulation, this message of Mark of the Beast, and that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight, is going to be for those to be aware of what's going to be happening so that there's no surprises, because there's going to be a lot of deception. I was just, actually this tonight when I came in, I set the alarm off in the church, and so a police officer showed up, and Robert knew who he was, and we got to talking to him, and I was telling him about the end times and what I'll be talking about, the mark of the beast. And he was really interested in, although he had to work tonight, so he said he couldn't come. So he was really interested in what's going to be happening. So I told him he can watch the YouTube or the Facebook. So, blessed am I that reads, and blessed is Freedom Now Church to hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. And Pastor John has surely blessed me to allow me to come and speak to you folks and allow the streaming of this video. So we are all blessed. Amen. Since the year 2000, because I've been talking about this since 1998. I've been studying this Revelation, the mark of the beast, Revelation 13, since 1998. And this is one of the slides that I would use in 2000. It's about the mark of the beast. And I would always say it's the mark or the name or the image of the beast. And it's one or the other or the other. The mark, the name, or the image. The thing is with that, is that's what I called this choose your mark. And for years I had a website called Choose Your Mark, and I would always say, you know, you're going to have a choice. You're going to have the mark or the name or the number of the beast. You're going to get a choice. Well, I'll talk about that tonight. I think it's going to be an all-in-one, and I'll get more into that. Because technology now makes it possible that a mark could contain the name and contain the number of the beast. So I would also use this slide. This is an actual microchip that I actually have that I show people, and I did not bring it tonight, but it's a very sharp chip. It's about the size of a grain of rice, a little bit bigger, and it's very sharp. It's got a real needle point on it, and it was designed to where you can put it under the skin without a syringe. I would imagine that'd be very painful, but they do exist, and I do have one. And for the past several years, I've been using variation of this slide. The mark could be a barcode or a QR code, or it could be some kind of a microchip implant, because the Bible does say people are going to receive a mark. And so it could be one of these two. If you're looking at reading a King James Version of the Bible, it'll say in the hand, which that would qualify for a chip that's inserted in the hand as an implant. But if you read the New King James or NIV and some of these other versions, it'll say on the hand. You could receive a mark on the hand, which could be a tattoo or of a barcode or a QR code. The thing is about with barcodes, they've been around for many, many years, actually since 1974. Anybody remember that when they first started using barcodes? Got a fella here. Yeah, Robert back there. I remember in 1974 when they was talking about putting barcodes on items in the grocery store. People would have boycott the grocery store because they were all saying that was the mark of the beast. Well, here it is 70-some years later. But with this light here, 3 weeks ago, God woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he said, what if the mark or the name or the number of the beast should be a mark and the name and the number of the beast? Well, with today's technology, as I said, it could be all three, and I'll get more into that later. So as soon as I heard that, I was wide awake. 4 o'clock in the morning, I was wide awake, and I got on my computer, and I updated my slide to this. And I would say, don't take the mark with the name and with the number, because it could be an all-in-one physical mark with all those. With a microchip implant, that is now possible. So I believe it'll be an all-in-one mark, name, and number, all in the microchip. So that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So what do you think of when I say jam? Was that Robert?
Jelly.
Jelly. Anybody else? Strawberry. Stuck. Oh, good one. Yeah, stuck. I didn't need to make a note of that. Strawberry jam. Yeah, we got that. How about music jam? Yeah. No. Okay, radar jam. Those people who are trying to avoid speeding tickets. How about traffic jam? Stuck in the traffic. The reason why I bring that up, because the New Testament was originally written on scrolls, and it was written in Greek, and it was translated to English. So a lot of the Greek words has a different definition as opposed to our English word. So they attempted to closely translate that, although there's many words in Greek that does not cross over into English. Okay? So, and I bring this up is because there's a lot of words that you think they mean one thing, but they totally mean something else. And so I'll be using a lot of the Strong's and Thayer's Concordance tonight, just to point out some of the things that what we think it is, it may not be. But here it is that for the gender of the Revelation beast, the three beast genders, Revelation 13 says it's going to be he, him, or his, referencing it's going to be a male. But the Strong's Concordance for beast is the word G846, and G stands for Greek, and the word has a number, and it's 846. And the word is autos, and it's not autos like when we see a car or a truck. It's pronounced autos. And the first Strong's Concordance definition or translation for autos is a her. First translation. It's not a he. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. It could be a he, and I most likely feel it will be a man type person as being the beast of tribulation. But the first translation is a her. The second translation is an it, which could be possibly a transgender person, neither he or a she. Or it could be a humanoid robot. It is a humanoid robot, not a human. It has no gender. Or it could, partway through the definition would be a him or a man. So I know whenever I was in school, in elementary school, they would always tell you the first definition of a word when you look it up in the Webster Dictionary, for those who remember that, the first definition was usually the most commonly way the word would be used.
So for the beast of Revelation 13, the most commonly way to use that word would be a her as the beast. Now here's another one. Now this is important for today's teaching. The Thayer's translation for beast in Revelation 13 is depicted Antichrist, both his person, his kingdom, and his power. So what I want to point out is the beast is known to be recognized as the Antichrist. So let's look at the Bible for the translation of Antichrist, and that would be in 1 John chapter 2, verse 22. Who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is Antichrist that denies the Father and the Son. So that's the Antichrist. So anyone and everyone that denies that Jesus is the Christ, they are an Antichrist. They are anti-Jesus. Everyone includes Jews and Gentiles. 1 John 4:3 tells us that the Antichrist is a spirit. And it says, and every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist. Okay? So I'm telling you this because I hear many teachings, and I watch a lot of teachings on the YouTubes and watching them on TV when they're talking about the beast. They always point out or say that the Antichrist is the first beast. And they always say that as if he is the one and only Antichrist. Well, that's not true according to the Bible. The Bible there, 1 John says, it's anybody that do not believe Jesus is a Christ, they are the Antichrist. That spirit is in them. Okay? That's important for tonight's teaching. But we are not to judge them. Okay? We need to pray for them. So I'm going to review the three beasts of Revelation 13 that I talked about last month. The first beast, he or she, and I point out I use a she because of the Strong's Concordance first definition is a she. So I use a she. And the first, which could be a she or he, beast, comes out of the sea of humanity, and that's in Revelation 13:1. And he or she is given authority and power from Satan over the one world government, and that's Revelation 13:1 and 2. And he or she will battle against the saints of God, and that's Revelation 13:7. The second beast, he or she beast, will be known as the false prophet, orders the people to build the third beast. Okay? You need to catch that. Build the third beast. Robots. Because the third beast will be made by the hand of man, that's Revelation 13:14. I believe the third beast will be a walking, talking AI avatar humanoid robot of the first beast. The second beast, who is possessed by Satan, wants the hand of man to make a humanoid robot to be worshipped as God. With that, with the understanding of today's technology, this is the DMV interpretation. Anybody ever hear of the DMV interpretation? I know you girls back there know of CMV. We use CMV as my wife's name, Cynthia's version. Cynthia Martin, CMV. So DMV is Dean Martin version. Okay. This is my interpretation. There would be of Deuteronomy 7:25 and 26. The graven image, okay, the graven image, which the Bible interprets the image as being a statue. Okay, this is my version, is highlighted in yellow. A man-made humanoid robot of the gods. The gods is the avatar image of the first beast in Revelation 13:1. Shall ye burn with fire? Thou shalt not desire the silver and gold that is on them. And if anybody knows about computer electronics, they contain gold and silver. Nor take it unto thee, lest thou be a snare therein, for it is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thy house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it, but thou shalt utterly detest it. Thou shalt utterly abhor it. for it is a cursed thing. For some of you, when I was talking about the three beasts last month, Elon Musk vision of the future is to have a humanoid robot in every house. And I think this Deuteronomy 7 is a warning. He actually shut down part in California. He shut down part of his plant that was building these EV cars. He shut it down to build humanoid robots. He wants to produce 1,000 robots a year out of that plant. And I'm trying to think, it was 1,000 a year or 1,000 a month? He's building a new plant in Texas right now called Giga, Texas. This new plant, he wants to be able to produce 10,000 humanoid robots a year. Yes, I've seen those. They got them that they box, and they got the other ones that are dancing around, and then other ones. One of the ones, there's a company in China that wants to build these robots, and I think they're building it for a company here in the States, and I can't remember the company, for an automotive manufacturer. And they ordered like 1,000 of these robots to do manual labor within this automotive factory. So they're coming. I mean, there's no doubt they are coming. And they're building them, and as you said, they are dancing, they're boxing, they're doing all kinds of things. So when the second beast breathes life into the avatar humanoid robot, that's Revelation 13:15, it is possible that it may have a digital clone mind of the second beast as an artificial super intelligent cyborg robot. It now I believe, can be possessed by Satan, killing those who don't worship the first beast and the dragon, who is also known as Satan. So you may be thinking, anybody pick up on that? A digital clone? This is something I just learned 2 weeks ago. This is a U.S. patent that was approved this past December 2025. It's Meta patent for a simulation of user of a social network system using a large language model. Man, what does that mean? That's Meta is Facebook. According to the patent documentation, LLM, which is large language model, can create a digital clone of a person's social media from an online activity, posting messages, photos, and videos. For those of you that are posting stuff on Facebook, they can now digitally clone you to make it look like you, talk like you, do everything that you do. The AI can also simulate a person's video and audio calls with friends and followers. For years, I guess for the past 5 years, I've been telling people there's going to be a time that you're not going to want to use this thing no more, this smartphone. The things they are doing with that, the data that they're collecting on there, what they'll be able to do with that is, there's going to be a time that you're going to have to get rid of that. As well as you're going to have to quit, and I talked about that last month, was with the artificial intelligence cloning, now with cloning people, that there's going to be so much deception going on that you're going to not know if the person on Facebook, if they're real or if they're not. Yes, they are doing that. They actually just passed a law in the federal government that it made it illegal for people to use people's image, and because that's what they're doing. They're using like women's image, face, their head, and they're putting naked bodies on them, and they're putting them together, and then they're posting them on Facebook or whatever, social media. And Melania Trump actually passed a law, or was head of it to pass a law against that, because lives are being destroyed as a result of that. Yeah, so that is now going to be more possible than ever, because it's not only going to be just a picture, it's going to be a moving, walking, talking Facebook post. The third beast, I believe, will be an avatar robot clone of the first beast. And it could be when the second beast breathes life into the AI avatar cyborg, that breath could be this second beast digital clone mind entering into this avatar beast. It could be, I don't know. But technology's there, they're doing it, as possible. So just be aware of that. Be aware of the deceptions that are going to be all through the news media, the social media, YouTube videos. You're going to have to question everything you watch anymore. I say don't take the mark or the name. There again I say or. Don't take the mark with the name and with the number in the right hand or in the forehead. Don't be deceived. So now let's finish up Revelation 13 teaching with verse 16 through 18. So Revelation 13:16, and he calls us all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead, and that there no man might buy or sell, save he that had a mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let them that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which we also know is 666. So I'll get back to the Revelation 13:16, and I'm going to start with Revelations 13:17. And so let's pause right here and take a closer look at no man might buy or sell. So as long as there's money in people's pocket, a mark is not going to stop people from buying and selling. Is that correct? Yeah. So an Antichrist beast could say, all right, you either take your mark or you cannot buy or sell. And they're going to say, wait a minute, I got money in my pocket. I still can buy and sell. That's not going to stop me. So you have to get rid of money. Money has to go away. Well, there's a worldwide effort to actually do that. Here already we're conditioned to buy and sell without using physical cash money, as this here is no cash payment accepted at this self-checkout. No cash money needed at the order to order or pay for your burgers and fries. How many of those seen those? As soon as they announce that they're going to start making it mandatory, where they're going to be $15 an hour for labor for people working in these fast food restaurants and stuff like that for minimum wages, $15 an hour. That's when I started noticing these little machines just started popping up all over the place. No cash accepted at Lowe's. No cash in your pocket can be used to buy food at this vendor. This is actually when I was telling you about Cynthia and I was on the prayer team at the Pensacola Civic Center. This is one of the vendors was there, and they had that sign there. Actually, Trump had the U.S. Mint to quit making pennies. So pennies are going to be a collector item if you're into collecting coins. Imagine that. Some restaurants are paid not to accept your money. $10,000 not to accept cash money. And what's the rest of the world doing? Because after all, the Bible does say he causes all. This is the CBDC, which is Central Bank Digital Currency Tracker website. Everybody know what a CBDC is? A CB, central bank, is what every country has a central bank for their currency. Okay, like they got the euro currency, they got the Japanese yen, then the Chinese has a yen or something like that. But there's all kinds of different currency around the world that they're using. Government that controls that for every country, for each country is called their central bank. Each country has a central bank that regulates their money, whatever form of money that is. With this CBDC is converting the physical money to digital currency. So what you see on that map there, all these different colors there, you can see there in pink, the top left on the status, 3 countries has eliminated their cash and went with digital currency. Okay, now this is as of July 2025. United States there was in the development stage, but ever since Trump took office, they went into the bottom, number 6, or the purple stage, is there under all the others, because I believe Trump kind of put a stop to that. He talks about the digital cryptocurrency. But see, cryptocurrency is personally owned. When you're dealing with cryptocurrency yourself, you become your own bank. Okay, that's basically what it is. You become your own bank. So with cryptocurrency, you got to protect it as a bank, because a lot of people or hackers been known to get into people's cryptocurrency and steal it. So you got to make efforts to protect it and secure it. They got what they call these little USB devices. They call them a vault. that you plug them into your computer and it will secure your cryptocurrency so it's not stolen. United States Federal Reserve Central Bank of Digital Currency is now called FedNow Services. So the Federal Reserve here in the United States, and what they launched was what they call FedNow Services. FedNow Services is the United States CBDC, the central bank digital currency for our government. According to the Federal Reserve, FedNow Services is simulated to PayPal and Venmo. Okay, it's digital currency. So why is there a need for a Federal Reserve FedNow Services? Well, FedNow Service is a government-controlled digital money system that can be monitored, altered, taken, or even erased with this keystroke. I can get into a long rabbit trail. I could talk a half an hour just on what this Federal Reserve CBDC, the FedNow Services, are doing. They already got it mapped out. They already got planned out what they're going to do with United States currency. During the Biden administration, Congress submitted, under the Democrats' control, they submitted several bills. They laid it all out, how they're going to go with digital currency in the United States. But as I said, I could talk a half an hour what their plans and what they're going to do. It's already laid out. They already got it planned. I'm concerned that if the Democrats, not to make this political, but if the Democrats get into controlling the Congress, as well as get another Democrat president in, I would say you can pretty much forget it about our currency that we have, because they already know what they want to do. If they get another Democrat president, I'd say our cash money system is gone. It'll go to this federal FedNow Services. And that actually happened. Here I go in the rabbit trail. When the European Union, the EU, went with the euro currency, I used to live in Germany, and in Germany they had the German marks, France had the French francs, and Spain had their own money, and all those different countries had their own money system. Okay, when the euro came in, or when the European Union came in, they made it a euro, and so then people had to turn in their currency, their coins and currency, and exchange it for this euro currency. And when they did that, and they had a deadline date, and I think it was like a year. After a year, if you didn't turn in your currency, it was worthless. Your paper money, like the German mark, the French franc, all that money system, it was worthless. You had to get rid of it and exchange it for the euro. So the FedNow Services digital money system is a peer-to-peer transaction. That's what it's for. Peer-to-peer is person-to-person. So like whenever you want to go to a yard sale or flea market or something like that, that's how you can make a transaction. Person-to-person is through this FedNow Services. It's already been set up. It's already been tested. This is another thing I can get into talking about their testing process, and I need to move on. On January 24th of 2022, Bank of America believes the digital dollar will be implemented between 2025 and 2030. Well, we're in 2026 here, so we'll see if the Bank of America prophecy is right or not. So what's the problem with a government-controlled digital money system? But yes, in China, what they're doing is what they call a social credit score. It's called Sesame Credit. With Sesame Credit, just like we have our credit scores here in the United States for our, depending on how we do our banking and savings and how we spend our money, whether we pay our bills on time, we get a credit score. Well, there in China, they call it Sesame Credit, but it's for everything that you do. If you're a perfect Chinese citizen, you get a high Sesame Credit score, which is great because that enables you to get bank loans, put your kids into good school systems. You can get on public transportation, you can get airline flights, you can get money out of the ATM machine. But if you're not, as a jaywalker, as you said, if you're a jaywalker, your Sesame Credit score starts going down. And down, as you keep breaking the Chinese laws, it keeps going down. To the point, whenever they came out with, when COVID first hit, they came out with this, what they call close contact app or something like that. That app actually came from China, because in China, let's say if I come in close contact with another person that has a high social credit score and mine's like in the middle, okay, my low social credit score would bring theirs down because we're communicating with each other. We're within close contact of each other. And they're going to say, wait a minute, he's not, this guy with the high social credit score, we don't want him associating with the person at the lower credit score. So we're going to lower his to the level that, you know, if you keep that up, it's going to make it lower and lower and lower. It's not going good in what they're doing, but they also are doing it in Canada. Yeah, they're moving towards that in Canada. And if you come close to someone, you can check their social credit score on your phone, seeing what theirs are, to see if you want to communicate with that person. They started this in 2015. Here I'm getting on a rabbit trail. They started this in China in 2015, and they made it voluntary for 5 years. And then 2020, they made it mandatory. So they got people accustomed to using it, and once they got them accustomed to it, then they made it mandatory that you had to have it. Okay? So that's like the old saying, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So here's an example of that. The Canadian government ordered 260 Canadian truckers and financial donors to helping the truckers out during the time of COVID. They had their bank account frozen, which they used what they call the 1988 Emergency Powers Act, because the truckers weren't doing what the government wanted, so they froze their bank account. On February of 2023, 3 days after Russia invaded Ukraine, Biden froze the Russian people and the Russian government's $630 billion stored in the United States Central Bank. That made the Russians a little upset. $630 billion? Well, the thing is, there's a downfall to this. A digital currency can be taken away when you don't comply with the government demand. There are many examples of governments around the world taking people's money or freezing their bank accounts. If you ever want to do a research on that, Google it. You'll find all kinds of countries constantly doing that to people's bank account. So because of Biden's action, many countries are now leaving the American dollar and turning to BRICS nations to exchange their money. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and then plus other nations. They have a group of countries joining together now, and they're going to start exchanging currency within their own money system. They call it a petrodollar. Whenever a country exchanges with another country, they will exchange their money with the American dollar first, and then they'll exchange it to the company or country that they're doing business with. And so they called it petrodollars. That mainly was used for petroleum, for oil. And so every time they wanted to buy oil from another country, it was done through the American dollar first, their money exchange. That's how they dealt with it. And so that's what made the United States, our American dollar, so powerful. And that's why we are such a great nation that we are. It's because of that petrodollar. Well, now with the BRIC nations, because of what Biden did to Russia, they're going to say, oh, wait a minute, you're using this against us. You're using our own money. You're taking our own money from us. So we're not going to deal with you no more. So not a good thing. So let's go back to Revelation 13:16. And let's pause and look at to receive a mark. First, the people has to receive this mark. None of these biometric type of identification are the biblical mark of the beast. You ever hear, people getting fingerprinted and they get their eye scan and their palm scan and vein scans, and you hear all kinds of stuff, facial recognition and all. None of that is the mark of the beast. Although it is leading up to a point where you're going to be identified with some kind of mark. But with that mark, Revelation 13:16 says he causes all to receive a mark. You must receive that mark. So it's not something that you already have. It's not a fingerprint or eye scan or your facial scan. That is not the mark of the beast. You have to physically decide you're going to receive a mark, which is going to be considered the mark of the beast. So now let's go back to Strong's Concordance and Thayer's Greek lexicon to define mark. Let's look at what that mark is. This is where I'm going to really get into digging into these words here. There's 3 words for the mark. The first in the Strong's, the first number, 5480, is karligba. Karligba. I'm probably butchering that, so that's something how you say it. But I'll pass the words here. 5481 is what we would think is caricature, but it's not even that. It's karlaktar. And then there's 5482, which is karlax. Okay, those are the 3 words in the Strong's Concordance that translate to the word mark. So see what I was saying, that there was different words like jam. Depends on how you use that word. There's multiple definitions for that word. Well, here's an example of that for mark. So let's look at the first definition for 5480. The Strong's Concordance definition is from the same as 5482, a scratch or etching, i.e. a stamp, a badge of servanthood, or a sculptured figure, a statue. And that's what I was talking about. The mark, the image of the beast is going to be a statue. It's not going to be like an image like we think of a painting on the wall, because you ain't not going to be able to breathe on a painting on the wall and have it come to life. It's going to have to be a statue, or I believe it's going to be a artificial intelligent robot, humanoid robot. So the Thayer's lexicon says it's a stamp or an imprinted mark used for the mark stamped on the forehead or on the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. A thing carved, a sculpture, a graven image work used as adulterous image. And see how the word mark is being used as some kind of image or a mark. So that's with the first 5480. Let's look at 5481. And again, it's the same as, look at 5482. It references 5482, and we'll look at that. That's the next one. And it says figure stamped, i.e. an exact copy. The Thayer's definition is a mark stamped, a mark or figure burned in, an exact copy or expression, the image, of any person or anything, a marked likeness, precise reproduction in every aspect as a facsimile. Now the third beast, notice the third humanoid robot beast is an exact image or exact copy of the first beast, as the Bible, Revelation 13, tells us. The second beast is to build an exact copy of the first beast. Now it is possible that 5481 mark could be a picture, a precise reproduction image of someone's picture stored on a microchip implant under the skin and used for digital identification. Now this is how long I've been doing this, back when I used to have black hair and a black mustache. So that's one of the slides I would use. So that's what 5481 mark could be, an exact image. Now, both 5480 and 5481 both referred to 5482. So let's look at 5482. 5482 says it's a stake, and the third says it's a stake. And this is a microchip, and I told you I have this microchip. If you turn that microchip up on in, it would look like a stake. Just an interesting point. It may or may not be, but curious. Now stay with me, I'm going somewhere with all this. Now let's look at the word for 666. Did you know 666 actually is a word in the Strong's Concordance? 666 is the word number 5516, which is chi-psi stigma. You were close. Chi-psi stigma, something like that. And the Thayer's and Strong's both agree that chi-psi stigma is referring to 666. Okay, see that? But there at the bottom there, for Thayer's, it says, well, let's look at 4742 as a cross-reference for this Kaise stigma. 4742 is stigma, which is part of the word 666. See that? Okay. The definition for 4742 is to stick, i.e. prick, a mark. Now, do you see that? A mark is to stick or prick. Remember I showed you that little microchip with a very pointed thing? And so a mark incised or punched in for recognition of the owners. To get a microchip implant, a syringe is used to prick or punch into the skin or to inject the chip. It is possible that the 666 stigma mark may be the microchip implant with someone's digital picture on that microchip. And we know with the technology we have, you know, how they're putting all these data in these little USB cards, you know, they're just squeezing so much information on there. For a microchip to contain a person's picture, image, is totally possible. So a microchip implant has been around since the 1990s for animals for their digital identification. And a lot of us knows about that, right? But it's been a very effective tool for digital identification for animals, and now it's used around the world. People are now using it for buying and selling it. The microchip technology today, what I would say it would qualify as the mark of the beast. And who knows where technology may exist in the future because of the tribulation beast and its Antichrist followers. The tribulation beast, I believe, will determine what that mark of the beast is going to be. This is what today's technology, a lot could happen whenever that takes place. Now, the Thayer's translation for mark is a mark pricked or branded upon the body, branded or pricked or cut into their bodies. Although I show it's a barcode or a tattoo or a QR code, barcodes, as I was mentioned earlier, has been around since the mid-70s. That was 50 years ago. That is old technology. Now, and I've never seen or heard of anybody using a barcode or QR code in their right hand or their forehead tied to a bank account to pay for anything. But I have heard there is people using microchip implants to pay for stuff. Last year I read an article where they believe there's been over 50,000 people had a microchip implanted. Sweden is one of the big countries that's having that done. The microchip implant in Sweden is actually being used for their COVID passport, saying that they got the COVID shot. It's also being used to give them access to public transportation. They can go into bars and restaurants and pay for their food with their microchip implant.
Is that the mark of the beast?
No, because the Antichrist ain't here to tell us what the mark of the beast is going to be. It qualifies for that, okay, but it isn't because the Antichrist is going to determine that, not us. And like I said, who knows what technology is going to be like in the future, because it may be something totally different. So I did, the last church that Cynthia and I were associate pastors at, about a month ago, one of the ladies there, she sent me a text. She says, Dean, you're not going to believe this, basically what she said. She said she was at a store paying for her stuff, or actually she was in line paying for her stuff, and she said a man in front of her just waved his hand in front of the scanner. You know those little scanners that you put your credit card or your debit card on? She said he just waved his hand in front of that scanner and it paid for the stuff he had. She said, I couldn't believe it. That was here in Pensacola. I said, well, I'd like to know who that person was. So they're doing it. Actually, there's a company in Wisconsin called 3 Square Market. 3 Square Market had 50 of their employees at the time that this article came out, which is 2 or 3 years ago. 50 of their employees had a microchip implanted in their hand. They can go and scan their hand in front of the scanner at the entrance of the building, and it would unlock the door of the building to let them into the building. Then they can go to their computer, and it would log them into their computers just by waving their hand. That's positive identification. But then they can go in the break room, wave their hand in front of the vending machines, and get their sodas or their coffee or their sandwich out of any of the machines just by waving their hand. So they're doing it. They're using it. And as I said, it qualifies The definition mark is a stamp on the forehead or on the right hand as a badge of servanthood of the followers of the Antichrist. It is an exact image of the beast or any person. And 666 stigma is also a marked, pricked, or cut or branded into the body. And the number 666 is a mark. And with today's technology in mind, it could be a microchip implanted that would be cut or pricked or stuck into the body for digital identification used to bind and sound. And I already gave you an example that they are actually doing that now. So with the microchip implant, you no longer need cash money. All you need is either your smartphone or a credit card or your tap and go your hand. And I already gave you an example of that. They're already doing that. Okay. The system is in place. If the Antichrist, the first beast of tribulation, comes on the scene today, the system is in place to do, the microchip people to be used for buying and selling. The system's already ready to go. Now back to Revelation 13:16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. Now let's pause and look at who are the free and who are the bond. Well, we all pretty much know we are free here in the United States, so we do have a few laws, but the laws are to protect us, to keep us safe. Okay, but who are the bond? Who are the bond people? So let's look at Strong's and Thayer's Concordance and look at who the bonds are. Well, it's Strong's number, 1401, is doulos, I believe, and it's defined as a slave, an involuntary or voluntary slave. Thayer's translation is a slave or a bondsman. Now, who would give up himself or herself up to another's will, devoted to another for the disregards of one's own interest? Now, who would want to be a voluntary slave, a bondservant? Who would be doing that? Who would be a slave devoted to another's for to the disregard of one's own interest? Well, I can think of like a police officer or something like that. He would do what he has to do to protect people, or like President Trump's security folks. A bondservant, it could be someone in the military. So let's take another look at the Thayer's definition for 4742 stigma, which is part of 666. For the better clarification, I'm adding the word military to this translation. Okay, so I highlighted that to let you know I put the word military on there. So the Thayer's tells us stigma is a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. See that? It's what's in yellow. Military soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their military commander to prick or cut into their bodies to indicate what military general they belong to. The Thayer's lexicon was printed in 1890. That's something they just didn't think of recently. 1890 was when they did this translation. And so see where the military, it's connected to the 666 stigma mark. It's not only a slave master, but it's also a military soldier. So when the one world allied military forces joined together to fight against Israel in the Battle of Armageddon, Armageddon will be a digital battlefield. And I'll talk more about the digital battlefield here in a little bit. The soldier will receive a 666 stigma mark as their digital ID to do battle at Armageddon. Fox News, July 2007, Pentagon to do a study of microchip implant in battlefield casualties. A Defense Department, which is now the Department of War, funded a study to aim at developing a microchip the size of a grain of rice that would be implanted in soldiers wounded on the battlefield. And see that at the bottom left, it was a $1.6 million contract to do this study, 2007. Where's the best place for a military soldier to have a microchip implant? If they lose their right hand in battle, their information is lost. But if the implant is in their head, it would not be a good day for them. So let's pause and hold that thought, and let me move on to more information about getting microchipped. If the mark of the beast is used to buy and sell, the mark would have to be linked to a bank account. Now, how would 8.3 billion people, that's current population, world population right now, 8.3 billion people on this earth use to buy or sell? Every person on earth will have to have some kind of a unique identification number, and that effort has already started. There's 170 countries that has its own Social Security number, okay? And we all know what the Social Security number is. But there's a problem with that. Every country's Social Security number and national ID card that they have has its own specific format of information, okay? There is no global standard. Countries can't agree with each other, imagine that. So they don't have no global standard for their Social Security number or for digital ID. But with over 8.3 billion people on Earth, which is in 193 countries on this Earth, how would every man, woman, and child receive a unique positive identification number to be used for buying and selling? That'd be a question I asked. That was actually my question. There's one global system in place today that has been operational since 1991. It's accepted in every country, in every language. It has no borders. It's used around the world today by government, businesses, banks, and by billions of people to buy and sell. Anyone want to take a guess at what that is? The internet. Very good. The internet. The one world global system used to buy and sell transaction, the internet. The future of global digital identification may be every man, woman, and child may be given an internet address on a microchip for the purpose of digital ID used for buying and selling. Does that sound far-fetched? Now you may be thinking, where did I get that idea? I got that idea from the government. So come and see. As an example, when we send a package through the mail or a letter to a house anywhere in the world, if it has the correct address, it's going to get to that house no matter where it's at. Well, it would take days or weeks for it to get there, but it will get there. But with the internet, it's just a matter of seconds. The way the internet works is every device on the internet has an address, which you were saying, an IP address. So every computer, every smartphone, flip phone, tablet, smart car, smart TVs, yes, IP security cameras, they all have internet addresses. So this is a GAO report. GAO stands for Government Accounting Office. It's a report to Congress, and it was dated May 2005. And it's about Internet Protocol version 6, or what they call IPv6, which you talk about IP address, internet address. This is GAO 05471 report. You can look it up on the internet under that number. I just checked last week to make sure it's still there. It is still there. So if you want to verify what I'm telling you, you can go and look at that report yourself. Okay? From the pages of the GAO report, this is the format of the old internet addresses, which they call it IPv4, which is a 32-bit address. You can just kind of just blow that over your head. I know a lot of you probably don't care what that means. But to me, as a computer internet engineer, I know what that means. So if anybody wants to know what that means, I can explain it to you, what the Y stands for in the 8-bit. So the internet address, so with this address here, in the early 2000s, because of millions of devices being added to the internet, needing an internet address, there was a concern the IPv4 addressing would run out of address numbers. So they came up with this new system, a new version of Internet Protocol, and it's called IPv6. And it's a 128-bit address, and it, I would say, stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this. I got that in my notes. This is how IPv6 V6 internet address for devices that can now be connected to the internet. I wouldn't even want to begin to pronounce that number. It's huge.
I've never heard of the first number.
Yeah, neither have I. I've never heard the first 10 of them. Look at all this. I could start at trillion, because that's how far our government is in debt. Was that 37, 38 trillion? That's where I could start at, trillion. And then from now on, down on. But that's how many devices that can be on the internet now. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, remember. From the internet, from the pages of the GAO report, the additional IP address, I'm reading this, that's on top there. The additional IP address refers to a military vehicle or an individual soldier. Okay. With a coalition of individual IP address, provide specific information on video, audio, identification, health, supplies, and track all in real time from the remote location. See that? Individual IP address for the soldiers. Let's look more at that. So let me explain this picture real quick, is that someone here in the United States, see the American map, would do a query, probably in some military base, say, hey, what's the status of this soldier on the other side of the world? He would type in whatever's connected to that person's IPv6 address, and it would go up to a satellite link, and then from that satellite link, it would go to, let's see, right here. It would go to the other side of the world. Here they're showing a map of the Middle East. And then it would go to the soldier. And then the soldier, right from the GAO report, every soldier would have an individual IPv6 address as their digital ID, and then the information collected would be remote video, communication, personal ID, health status, weapons and munitions inventory, and GPS location. Isn't that something? Then it would go back to the satellite and then back to the person in the United States. Okay, isn't that something? Now, this is somewhat type of technology that's already being used. How many have watched on TV, watching on the news, seeing them reporting on Israel attacking Iran, live video from a news reporter?
Yes, right.
That's basically the same thing what they're doing, but they're collecting information right from the soldier, actually his health status. And that's what I believe will be the digital battlefield. But what wife would not want this technology for their husband? I would usually get a big reaction out of that one. They could find their husband anywhere in the world. Or what about a lost child? That would be good, wouldn't it? Actually, Steve Hill during the Brownsville Revival gave me the idea to put a microchip in a Raggedy Ann doll, and I would scan it with my computer and show her information. And he would say that. I said, what parent wouldn't want that for their lost child?
But that's the crazy part. That's where it starts.
Yes,
Because then where do you stop?
exactly. And as I said earlier, if you give them an inch,
Yeah. And then they have that code for the rest of their life, and anybody can track them
yes.
for the rest of their life.
As I said, remember with the Chinese social credit score, the Sesame credit?
Where does it stop?
All you do is click on their phone, or on your phone, to see what that person's credit score is.
It starts out with something good, and then it turns into something horrendous.
Yep. So this is actually from the internet. It's like your home Wi-Fi connected to your devices on the internet. A soldier has what they call a PAN, which stands for Personal Area Network. You know, at home you got what they call local area network, because everything in your home is connected to your Wi-Fi device, your Wi-Fi, and that gets everybody connected to the internet. Well, with a soldier, they call it PAN, which is Personal Area Network. So everything on his person can now connect to the internet, or to his internet device that would link him up to the satellite. And then they also have what they also call, and with the PAN, it can scan their, the cameras, their headphones, microphones, speakers, and they can communicate using the cell phone. And then they have what they call BAN, which is Body Area Network. So it scans Bluetooth device to monitor the person's heart rate, their blood pressure, whatever, their oxygen level and their heart rate. So that's what they call band. So that's how they're able to do that according to the GAO report. So the technology is already out there. It's actually already out there being used. This is also CNN reporting on putting microchips in soldiers, because they're reporting that they're doing that. I can go on another rabbit trail, but I'm going to stay off of it. From engineers and science, an implantable biochip that could relay vital health information if a soldier is wounded in battle or a civilian is hurt in an accident. So, now back to the IPv6 internet addresses. Now, like our telephone or our cell phone number is a unique number. There cannot be two telephone number existing, right? Yeah, because I can't call, if I call somebody number, I know I'm going to get that person. Sometimes the phone system messes up and gives you somebody else, but there can be no two phone numbers. Well, that's also the same with this IPv6 internet addressing. There cannot be two internet addresses. So for security-wise, what perfect security? Because it would give you alerts saying, hey, there's a imposter out here trying to impersonate this other person. So who is the true person? Okay, so IPv6 will allow you to do that because there cannot be two of the same internet addresses. So if you want to know what your internet address, your IPv6 internet address for your device, you can type this at your web, using your web browser, what is myv6.com? And it will tell you what your IPv6 address is. So that's enough on IPv6 internet. Oh, so there's enough IPv6 internet address for the entire world population. See that 8.3 or 8,300,000 for the world population in comparison to that IPv6 address up there? The world population is very, very small compared to the size of that number. Now back to Revelation 13. And that no man buy or sell, save he that had a mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. And I believe it'll be an all-in-one microchip implant, according to Revelation 13, 17, and 18. It makes sense to me. Now let's look at that. This is my interpretation of Revelation 13, 17. With technology and the GAO report in mind, I am going to replace the or with the word and, because the microchip could be an all-in-one microchip implant containing a person's name and number and the number of his name. And rather than using the GAO report for a military soldier, I'm going to use it for every man, woman, and child. Okay? So the beast system for a digital ID used for buying and selling around the world could be a modern day internet technology, could be an all-in-one microchip implant. And the name of the beast could be the name of a person accepting the microchip. Now, pause, you may be thinking, what? Are you saying that the beast name could be a name of a person accepting the microchip implant? And I'm saying, yes, it's possible. Because remember back when I started was in the beginning of this teaching, a beast is an Antichrist. And in 1 John 2:22 tells us the Antichrist is anyone who don't believe Jesus is the Christ. So the person in Revelation 13, 17 and 18, when it talks about a beast there, I believe it's possible it could be the fourth beast of Revelation 13 during the time of tribulation. That fourth beast could be a person, an Antichrist person, a person that don't believe Jesus is the Christ. And the name that could be the name of the Antichrist person stored on a microchip implant. That number of his name may be an IPv6 internet address that uses a digital ID. Like my social security number is tied to my name is my social security number, right? Your name is your social security number. Your social security number is tied to your name. Well, I believe that's how it's going to be with this, what the Bible referring to, the name or the number of the beast, or the number of his name is like your social security number and your name. I believe it's going to be your name, and the IPv6 address is going to be your number. Now, Revelation 13:18, it says, here's wisdom, let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So what is the number of man in the Bible? Anybody? I heard someone whisper it. Just the number 6. Just the number 6. That's the number of man in the Bible. So it's possible that the number could be the number of man, which could be what I call, or what the internet calls them, is what they call a MAC address. And so you may be thinking, well, what's a MAC address? Well, a MAC address stands for Media Access Control. It's a unique identifier assigned to the internet interface controller. Every device on the internet, along with the IPv6 address, it also has a MAC address, including your Bluetooth devices. If you get on your phone and you got a Bluetooth device connected to it, you can look it up and you can query it and ask for it, what is its MAC address. That's what identifies your device, Bluetooth device, in your phone, and it says, oh, this is earbuds, or this is your speakers, or headphones, or something. That information is gathered from the MAC address. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and the MAC address is tied to the IPv6 address. I can get into more detail of how that works, but I need to move on. So I believe that MAC address for a man could be 666, because that would identify that a microchip that's implanted in a person is a number 666, would say that is a person, a man, woman, or child. My opinion. That's not in the GAO report, but understanding the way internet works, and where I understand where the IP address works, and it also contains a MAC address to identify what that device is. That device could be a man. Or it could be your earbuds. Yep. So again, that was my opinion. The Bible tells us to count the number. In the Strong's Concordance, the word count is 5585, is to count with pebbles, or compute, calculate, or reckon. King James says count the number. The New King James, NIV Amplified, or English Standard Version says calculate the number, or the NLT says solve the meaning of the number. So let's start counting. So I'm going to compare the Bible and with the GAO report that was sent to Congress. And based on the Bible, Revelation 13, 17, and 18, the name of the beast could be the name of the Antichrist, man, woman, or child, who are spawned great, rich, and poor, or free and bond. Remember, the beast is an Antichrist, and the Antichrist is everyone and anyone who don't believe Jesus is the Christ. So under the GAO report, I'm going to put it under as instead of using a military person, it's going to be the name of a person, which could be the military person. So see where I'm comparing the Bible is with people, man, woman, and child. He calls us all, man, woman, and child, to receive a mark. GAO report saying the military is going to be receiving this person's name. And plus, you're going to add this up. Plus the name of the number of the beast person, like a social security number is linked to our own name, and our own name is linked to our social security number. They are all one and the same. This would be the GAO report internet IPv6 internet address that is dedicated digital ID number assigned to each man, woman, and child. our social security number is not accepted worldwide. Ours is not. And no other countries will accept between each countries. Because I did a little research on that. Every country's format is different, you know. Ours is what, the 3-digit, 2-digit, and 4-digit. Every country is not like that. They got all kinds of scrambled numbers. Okay, so they're not compatible. But the IPv6 internet address is compatible no matter where you go. And according to the GAO report, they're using the IPv6 address for the soldier, which a lot of things they do is they try it out on a soldier, see if it works on a soldier first before they put it out to the public. Is the name of the beast under the Bible heading, the name of the beast could be the person herself. And as I put under the GAO report, it would be the person's name. And then the next one is the number of his or the beast's name. And that number, I believe, is going to be under the GAO report, is the IPv6 address of that person's number assigned to that person's name. Like our social security number is our name, and our name is our social security number. I believe that the name of the soldier is being tied to their IPv6 address. And because it's dedicated, his address is going to be in their name. But because I showed that number was such a large number, it's nothing for put that on a microchip. So what if it's on a microchip? You know, you don't have to read it or something. Computer's going to read it, and you can scan it on your phone and say, well, the phone knows what my number is. Why do I care? Because it's mine and mine only. Nobody else in the world has that address. Does that make sense? And then the number of the man, which we know the Bible is 666, as the Bible tells us in Revelation. And under the GAO report, I believe that's going to be the MAC address, 666, to identify that chip is the chip that belongs to a man, not a smartphone, cell phone, tablet, smart card, or a smart car, or a TV, smart TV. It's going to say, this is the person, not some electronic device. So let's do a little bit of algebra. Add these three variables together, you get the answer. And so I would say under the Bible column, the mark is equal to the right hand or the forehead, allowing the person to buy and sell. And on the GAO report column, to add up the person's name, their IPv6 address, and their MAC address, that would come out to a microchip implant. Although microchip implant is not in the GAO report, okay? But we see the CNN and the Fox News reporting that they're microchipping soldiers. So, I missed one here. So a man received an RFID microchip implant in the back of his hand to connect to his iPhone. Why not? It's perfect identification. If his microchip is his, one and his only, tied to a smartphone, perfect security. The internet's going to be able to track that wherever it's being used and say, wait a minute, I know that this person has a microchip in his hand, is married to a smartphone, saying this is the one and only person, so how can it be 50,000 other people? Because we know that person is right there, because that's where his phone is. What the world tech companies are collecting, and we were talking about that information from your cell phone, this is the reason why a tech company wants to build these massive data centers. It's to store your lifetime of information collected from your smartphone or your tablet or your laptop. And yes, these are the same data centers they're talking about, these massive data centers that's going to use an enormous amount of electricity. Has to store your information is what they're building it for. And the problem is people share their cell phones with their spouses, their children, and their families, and their friends. And so tech companies cannot positively identify who's using that smartphone, okay? Because I use my wife Cynthia, she uses my phone, and every once in a while let somebody else use it. But who's using it then at that time? So whose information is using that phone at that time? Tech companies were going to want to know that. So putting a microchip in their hand would positively identify them, saying, all right, here's Dean. He's got a chip in his hand. So we know he's the one using a smartphone, like that article talked about, the person using his microchip scanning with his smartphone. So if I hand my phone to somebody else and they put it in their hand with their chip, they can say, oh, this person now is now using a phone. This is their data that we can store on these massive computer systems. And they give it to their child, and their child would have a microchip in their hand. And they're going to be able to track everything from that child, from the time they're a little kid to they're grown up. They're going to know everything about them. Now, the third humanoid robot beast is also it'll be using 5G to connect to their internet. Okay. And so if the beast, this third beast that's made by man, if it connects to the internet, guess what? It's going to have an IPv6 address. It's going to have a MAC address to identify it. This is a humanoid robot now connected to the internet, and now it's going to have access to those massive data centers with all their information. Okay? Hold on to that thought. That humanoid robot beast can now access the data center in microseconds and know everything there is to know about you because of your microchip implant. Because your microchip implant is going to identify you as who you are. That third beast, humanoid robot beast, can access that information, saying, and so when it's looking at you face to face, he already knows who you are. He knows your entire life story. I believe that's the future of what's coming with AI, humanoid robots. Remember this slide? The number of man and his number is 666. A mark pricked or branded upon the body, slave or soldier, bore the name or the stamp in their master or commander, branded or pricked or cut into their body to indicate what master they belong to. Devoted, who stamped themselves in a way where the token of their gods, a token of their gods. Now, this isn't a welcome handshake, I put it as. It's a digital marriage death grip of control and manipulation through deception between man and humanoid robot. Because now with these artificial intelligence that's going to be embedded in these humanoid robots in their brains that they can access the internet, know everything about you. When they know everything about you, they can now manipulate you. Make you do things or say things that you would not normally do. And that's what TV commercials are all about. TV commercials are to manipulate you to get you to buy their product, to spend their money or to call their name or call their numbers, you know. Call 1-800-HELP-ME-LAWYER. This is what this technology is coming to. They're going to know everything about you so they can manipulate you and control you. So I used a small g for God here because the Revelation 13:15 says, those who do not worship the beast, the third beast, will be killed. So if you don't worship it, the beast is going to kill you. Come on, Jesus, exactly. So what happens when you take the mark of the beast? Revelation 14:9 says, I'm keeping track of the time here. It tells us, if anyone worship the beast and his image and receive the mark on his forehead or on their hand, he shall be tormented with hell and brimstone. For the saints and tribulation, for the tribulation saints and servants that's going to be here during that time, watch out for that. So don't take the mark and the name and the number in the right hand or in the forehead. Don't be deceived. Because if you were here last month, I talked about all the deception that's going to be happening during the time of tribulation. So what would cause people to take the mark of the beast? Money. The word money is used 140 times in the King James Bible. The last time the money is used is 1 Timothy 6:10, for the love of money is the root of all evil. How many have heard that Bible verse? Oh, that's a common one. Nothing wrong with money. It's when you go to love of money, exactly. But a lot of preachers don't finish out this statement, this verse, Bible verse. Let's look at the rest of it. Which while some covet after, they have erred from their faith. Erred from their faith. Who has faith? Christians. Christians are going to err from their faith. They will leave their faith, or they're going to fall away for the love of money. Let's look at 2 Timothy 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there comes a falling away first, and that the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition. So what would cause a falling away? People that would take the mark of the beast for the love of money, because without it, you're not going to be able to buy and sell. You're not going to be able to buy your groceries, pay your taxes, get gas.
Sweet.
Come on, Jesus, right? So let's finish the Bible verse. And they have erred from their faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. To get the microchip or a tattoo, you have to pierce the skin. But are you under the pressure of eating or being able to buy or sell? It'd be tempting. So here's a little bit of information, interesting. After the 1 Timothy 6:10 through Revelation, the word money is not used. You will not find money. It talks about the riches, your possession, your wealth, or some kind of property. But money is not used after 1 Timothy 6:10. Yeah, that's interesting. Physical money is going away, and we've already been replaced with a digital money system. And the only way you'll be able to buy or sell, you must accept the mark if you're here for those who are here during the time of tribulation. So, wow. Did I kind of overwhelm you with this stuff? You might have to watch this video a couple of times. Okay. Well, I'm not done yet. Can I have 10 more minutes? Because the next 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, I'm going to talk about gold and silver. So what was done in the past may happen again. One day it may be illegal to own gold and silver. And we talked about cash money expiring or going away. Well, let's talk about gold and silver. So eventually physical cash money is going to go away. And so let's look what happened in American history. On April 5th, 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, under executive order, declared all persons are required to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificate Federal Reserve bank notes. Criminal penalty for the violation of the executive order is $10,000 fine or 10 years in jail. Can you imagine in 1933, $10,000? People were probably making $1 a day. That's a hefty fine. Here is a 1929 gold certificate Federal Reserve bank note. That's what it looks like, just to give you an idea what a bank note looked like back in those days. It was tied to gold. Anybody ever see one of those? A bank? There, we got Robert back there, seen it. So FDR signed an executive order on May the 5th in 1933. See that? Americans had until May 1st of 1933 to comply. There was no public vote, no congressional decision. He just signed it and did it. In the days of horse and buggies and Model T cars, Americans had 26 days to comply. Had 26 days, or they face arrest or fine. They could do that today. You know, some president may say, all right, you got to turn in your dollar bills, your currency, your physical currency, and exchange it for some digital money system. And for the purpose of this executive order is actually on there. It says, forbid the hoarding of gold coins, gold bullions, and gold certificates. The federal government didn't want you hoarding gold money. This is a gold stash that was maybe the result of FDR's 1933 executive order. In 2014, someone found $10 million worth of gold coins buried in their backyard. Wouldn't that make you smile? For those people who has cash money, gold or silver gets stored under their bed mattress, get ready, because it may be one day you're going to have to exchange it for a digital money system. Here's a Bible verse in Ezekiel 7:19. They will throw their silver into the street, and their gold will be like refuse. Their gold and their silver and their gold will not be able to deliver them in the days of the wrath of the Lord. What would be worth more than gold and silver? How about food? You can't eat gold and silver. If you were hungry, you wouldn't care what that gold and silver bar be out there on the street. If you were hungry, you'd be looking for some food. Let's finish off this Bible verse here, Ezekiel 7. They will not satisfy their souls nor fill their stomach, because it became a stumbling block of their iniquity. Now, this may be the Revelation 6, the black horse in tribulation, where there's going to be famine of food as well as an economic famine. It would take a day's wages, according to the black horse. It will take a day of wages to make enough money to buy food. You know, so if you were making, as an example, $20 an hour, and you work 8 hours, that's $160. It would take you $160 to buy food enough for one person. That's Revelation 6, the black horse. So if you ever want to look that up. So Matthew 6:24 says, no man can serve two masters. Ye cannot serve God and mammon, which is the God of money. And the word for tribulations, this is the word for the tribulation saints and servants from Joshua 1:9. Have I, God, not commanded you? Be strong and of good cheer, good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Amen. Amen. Yes. Glory, absolutely.